This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody, we are now back. We're back from Norwalk, the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals, and we got our recap right here, right now, WFO style. My name is Joe Castello, and if you're a new listener, a first-time listener, if you're seeing this guy on your social media, check out the show for a few minutes, especially if you love the sport of drag racing. We're talking about the pros, baby. Camping World Drag Racing, some of the quickest and fastest cars, some of the best performers on 4 wheels and 2 wheels will be joining us in the next couple of weeks to talk about the race win. But we have got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, going to join us just seconds from now after I tell you about a couple of great companies that make it possible for me to do this. Sit around here in the WFO studio, the vast studio, and connect with drag racers and talk about what happened. If you're out there on social media, we ask you to share or retweet or whatever you do. The YouTube channel, WFO Radio TV, appreciate all you folks as well. What a weekend it was with rain and rivalries and all kinds of great stuff out there at Bill Bader's Summit Motorsports Park. Really great times and a good time, and I'm back, and it was something, to say the least. Let me tell you about the people who make it possible. Talking about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. You might want to become a champion race car driver. You'd probably go to Frank Hawley's to start. Talk to Force and Robert Haight and, where's Autumn going, right? Simple as that. But also, if you're just a, guy and you want to drive a dragster for the thrill of it, do something special with your life and an experience that you'll remember for a lifetime, they've got the Dragster Adventure program. And I think that's the best thing for you to do, to understand the feeling and the sensation of drag racing and drag racers. Check them out. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information. Great stuff. Also, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. They always say that. What does it mean? They have got machinist skills that they're teaching, things you really can't learn in too many other places. And they can get you started out on a good, long, right career in a field that you love. They've got blockhead CNC programs, motorsport, EFI tuning. They've got all that going on down there in the Houston, Texas area. Samtech.edu. Check out the website. Check them out. Give them a call and tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. And that really goes for all of our sponsors. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. TotalSeal.com. Hartford had himself another strong race. They have actually emerged as one of the top teams out there this year, a real championship threat. The whole exercise is to inform you that if you're building an engine, you should check out Total Seal Piston Rings first, whether it be a Pro Stock engine, Stock Eliminator engine, bracket engine, depending on the rules package you are asked to compete under, they can build you rings. So check it out, TotalSeal.com. And we did a new episode of Hidden Horsepower, a Hidden Horsepower Live. It's up on their Facebook page. It's up on our Facebook group. It's in their Facebook group. It's everywhere. Lake Speed Jr. and Billy Godbold from Comp Cams. It was mega. Just listening to two very intelligent people banter back and forth about how the technology has advanced over the years. Amazing stuff. Check it out, Hidden Horsepower. It's a podcast. It is also a live stream out there. You can find it on all of our channels, TotalSeal.com. And then there's Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. It keeps me going each day. I get fired up. And when I notice it the most is Tuesday morning when I've just gotten back from travel and I've been drinking the coffee at the hotel, the complimentary coffee. And it's more of coffee by necessity as opposed to coffee for enjoyment. And this morning, just loving my Rodak. So check them out, 817-924-6821. Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Later on in the show, I'll tell you how to get some WFO gear and free stickers and all that stuff. I see everybody's loaded up on social media, but right now we're going to go all the way out there. Fire! Oh, we lost him. Get out of here. Really, Reinhart? You dropped off right before I was going to you? Like the millisecond? Let's see what people have got to say out there while Reinhart gets queued up. Like this user says, hi, Joe. And this guy saying, what's up, Joe? And Jay is saying, good afternoon, Joe, all the way with WFO. Thank you very much. Keith Howard, one of our Patreons. Thank you very much, Keith. Good hanging out with you. Keith got his WFO Radio t-shirt out there. On for this one. What's up, Keith? I got to hang with Blake. Blake was out there in Ohio. It was a good time. We had a good time. Blake and his dad and really cool stuff. Roger Richards. Roger, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Lonnie is out there. All right, let's see if Reinhart is back. I'm telling you, I was going right to you. I was going to you, and then you dropped off. You disappeared.
I'm sorry. I thought you still had Nitro Fish to go. For some reason, my earbud did something stupid, so I just reset.
That's okay.
But I was listening. You're talking about Rodeck. I'm going, okay, Nitro Fish is next. I still got time. And it's like crap.
It's okay. Wow, what a weekend! I don't know about you, but at around 4 or 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, I was drunk on drag racing, Alan. I was just woozy with all the runs and rivalries and great stuff, and obviously dealing with the weather. I loved it though. Like in the end, it was a beautiful grind to get through that and ultimately see the final rounds that we saw.
Yeah, how much better would it have been if we hadn't had to go through the grind part?
So much better. The grind part was horrible, but we made it.
The thing that really, for me, kind of took away from the event a little bit, it was the fact that so many of the fans, after the big squall came through, just decided that they'd had enough. And, after all the rain we had on Friday, pushing us late into the evening, and, Saturday wasn't so bad, but Sunday was just off again, on again, off again, on again. And I completely get it. You're out there, it's hot, then you're wet, then it's hot, then at some point, it's just like I've had enough. But when you look at, the final rounds, and it just would have been so much better to have the place packed and screaming. The fans at State were as hardcore as you could get. But when you've got, Erica and Greg in the final round with him chasing history and her just trying to deny him, when you got Matt and Steve in the final round of the motorcycles, we all know how much those two get along. When you've got the young guns in the top fuel deal, you got Brittany and Steve, and same thing. We all know how well they get along, right? And, like I said on the broadcast, you look at the funny car final, Bob Task is looking for his third win of the year, and Cruz Pedregon for his first win in 3 years. There was just so much going on. It would have been better, in my mind, if we'd have been able to do that, play it out in front of full grandstand. Holy smokes, what a day at the races. Anthony Bertozzi almost quadrupled. That might be the story of the event.
Yeah, exactly. In the memory of Kyle Seipel, which was part of the whole deal. And some people were asking like, hey, the Kyle Seipel deal, I think we should make it perfectly clear that when we go to Sonoma, that is where the National Hot Rod Association is going to focus the energy of remembrance for Kyle. And so some have asked like, hey, I didn't notice any kind of big thing. And the answer is by design. Things are being assembled. But when we get to Sonoma, his home track, at that point, it's going to be focused and ready. And I think we're all going to use that as an opportunity at, whatever you want to call it, closure, remembrance, condolences, all of the above. So for those who are wondering about that, I heard you got asked that a couple of times. Sonoma's the place.
Well, and I don't know who made the original contact, but, in our pre-event conference call last week, that was one of the things that came up. And, the NHRA at the corporate level and Sonoma had been in touch going, hey, look, we want to do something. What's the right way to go about this? And the decision that was made, which is absolutely the right one in my mind, let's do it at Sonoma. I mean, it's a place where, he not only grew up and where his mom managed for so many years, where his dad still, I believe, is on staff there, still helps out, where he took over as track manager when his mom retired. That's home for him. And so if we're going to do something meaningful, let's do it at his place. And that just seemed like the right decision. So that's what's going to happen. And I can't say I'm looking forward to it just because, it's like when somebody hits the like button when I said my house was on fire and 100 people on Twitter liked it. I'm going, really? Really? But that's just the right thing to do. I feel like it is. And, the track wanted to do it, and that's what NHRA thought. So when we get to Sonoma, that's where we're going to pay tribute to Kyle.
Exactly. And people weighing in out there. Jeff's out there from Denver. We're going his way next. Kev says there's a big soccer football match in England, Germany, and the Euros. He's going to catch up on the podcast. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate you letting us know. Mark talking about Mike McIntyre out there. That was a big story of the weekend. Gary saying hello from Montana. Those guys, the Montana guys, drag racers, had a really great weekend this weekend. Scott's complaining there was no ignition. We'll catch up, Scott. Don't worry. We'll catch up. But, man, I got off the plane yesterday after some delays and just was really feeling the exhaustion. And so, no, we did not get to ignition, but we will. Let's dive in on some of these storylines, because you mentioned Bertozzi and yeah, 2 winning cars and winning one himself and runner up himself. Wow. Like that is being dialed in, and to John LeBouse. How great is it? We're talking about, Dot 90 racing right at the start of the show, right? Holding up a sign, and now he's got a thing, right? LeBouse holds up a sign when he wins, and now we'll all be looking, and this one was for Kyle.
Yeah, and, Anthony was a big supporter of the fling race. As a matter of fact, I don't know that he ever missed one. I know that, there were a couple of times that he drug his stuff from his Virginia shop literally all the way out to Las Vegas just to support Peter and Kyle and to do those races. And they had some success there as well. John LeBouse, for those who don't know, John LeBouse, the two cars that he drives are both owned by Anthony Bertazzi. And so, yeah, that was cool. And I hope he keeps the tradition going. And it looks like, right now he's finding the winner's circle on a pretty regular basis. So it may come to the point where every time LeBouse is in the final, the deal's going to be not who wins, but what's the sign going to say if John wins. But he had a good day, obviously. Joe Santangelo in the Stalker, same thing as LeBouse. LeBouse last week won in the other car. This week wins in this one. Joe Santangelo last week won in the Super Stalker, which is his. And this week he won in the Stock Eliminator car, which is Anthony's. And then Anthony won Super Stock in his yellow and black Pontiac and went to the final round in Top Dragster where Alan Kenny put a perfect light on him and he came that close to winning 4.
Yeah, Al Kenny, right? We were trying to decide whether he was a 16th of an inch from red lighting or is it an 1/8 of an inch going in deep.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He got the ice cream scoop. All right, let's move over to the Camping World Drag Racing Series. And I guess we'll just start off on Top Fuel, where there was a bunch of stuff going on. I want to talk about, just mention Luigi Novelli, who had a non-racing medical incident. His family has been posting on their Facebook page that he is getting better, and even referenced that he is coming back to being the grumpy old man again, which we need to take as a positive thing. We were all, thinking about Luigi for a while. That was a story out there. Good to hear that. And the Clay Millican, he said he had a little inner ear deal going on, which, focused us on Austin Prock. So couple of interesting sub stories that were on the mind of everybody out there.
Yeah. As far as Luigi, just want to send him the best. He's been doing this for so long. And, after he made the run, the top end of the racetrack called and just said, hey, you need to hold up. We've got a situation down here, and really didn't pass on any other information. And then we had to take a break because they opted to airlift him to the trauma center, which was apparently the right decision. I'm not the doctor. I don't know, but we can't run. A lot of people probably don't even know this. NHRA will not run nitro cars if we don't either have a helicopter on the property or we're in 10 minutes flight time of a trauma center where a helicopter is standing by. So in a situation where the nearest trauma center, would take the helicopter 25 minutes, we won't race without a helicopter on the property. So when they sent the helicopter out, we had to go on hold until there was another one in the air headed back, and that's when we were able to go ahead and zoom. But I'm glad that he's doing better. He certainly is getting up there, but he hasn't lost any of his feistiness. And they say he's grumpy. And I think there's so many people that I've seen over the years. You're going to go visit somebody in a hospital, and when you're walking in and you're going, where's what? Can you tell me what room? And at the end of the hall, you hear, Jeff, give me some food. I'm sick of this Jello. You go, okay, never mind. I found him. And at that point, the guy's okay, right? Yeah. So if he's turning back into the grumpy old man, then that's great. It's the same thing if somebody has an on-track incident, and we've certainly both been there at the end of the racetrack where you're watching it going, oh my God, and then you pull up on the scene your golf cart, and you hear the guy, get me out of this damn thing. Okay, he's okay. Well, that's all I needed to know. So I hope he makes a full recovery. I want to wish him all the best. And the Clay thing was completely opposite. I spoke to him Thursday night. He was out on the starting line. We did the Summit customer race because he is part of Team Summit, and he never said anything about it. And then they made the run on Friday, and the next thing I hear is that he's not going to be driving the rest of the weekend. And what? And then when I spoke to Doug Stringer, Mike Flover, they basically said that he knew that he had this little inner ear infection, and he was taking stuff for it, and fine. But anybody that's ever had one of those, it affects your equilibrium a little bit. And he said when he stood on the gas in the car, that's when it was like, okay, this ain't good. And he said, I just can't do this. I mean, right? It's not fair to the team. Doesn't want to put anybody else in danger. So he stepped out voluntarily and went to the Cleveland Clinic to get looked at. Austin was there. Austin's the right size. Austin obviously has the ability to drive a top fuel car. So Austin was asked if he could fill in for the weekend, and he did.
Yes, and it was revealed. I was so into this weekend's race, and this doesn't always happen, but I immediately went to the DVR and watched the Fox broadcast, Brian and Tony and and Jamie and Amanda and everybody that was in there. And, how about Bruno, by the way, winning in Comp Eliminator? That's great stuff.
Yeah.
But they said that the other driver that two were mentioned, the other driver that was mentioned was Larry Dixon. And I just thought that, but Larry had left the property and gone home. I just thought like, wow, man, either way, we were going to have a crazy story one way or another. But honestly, I think that Austin has to be involved with the sport. I told the Patreons today, if we can't figure out how to get this just ball of positive energy and talent into a sponsored car so that he can go out there and compete, something isn't right. Now, maybe that's overstating it, but in this world, 2021, we've got this mainstream sport. We're on Fox. This kid is the energy. He's the fire, and he can get it done, obviously. And he's going to sit and work on superchargers. That's a problem. That's a problem. We got to admit problems. You can tell I'm fired up. I'm going to drop it right here. But this is a big thing. A guy like Austin Prock needs to be in a race car. If he's not in a race car, something is wrong. And so, I don't know. It re-sparked that in me.
It's all about money. I mean, it's as simple as that. Tony Schumacher needs to be in a car. Fast Jack Beckman needs to be in a car. Tommy Johnson needs to be in a car. In this particular point in time, and especially, with the whole mess that was 2020, I think people are still pretty tentative about where they're spending their money and what they're doing. I don't think, he certainly isn't sitting out because he doesn't have the ability or because he doesn't have the personality or because somebody doesn't. He's sitting out because the companies that were backing him right now are a little tentative about, do we need to spend this kind of money? And I mean, let's be fair. At the time when NHRA was restricted capacity, right? If it's costing me, and it doesn't matter what the number is, if it's costing me $100 a race to have my car on the racetrack, and I can plan on, pretty good crowd on Saturday. We had a lot of sellout Saturdays, pretty good crowd on Friday night, and the TV ratings. Okay, I can justify that. Now, when I go, okay, the cost is still $100 more or less. Okay, maybe it's $90 because they're skipping the run. But by the time, you get there and make the hotel, everything, you're still spending money. Now, okay, at some places, we're only allowed 30% or 40% capacity. And, the eyeballs I'm reaching make it more difficult to justify the investment. Now that things are starting to open back up, I hope that'll carry over to the sponsor side as well. But it was good to see him in car. And the one thing I don't know, and maybe you do know this, I was actually going to reach out today and ask, it has always been policy in NHRA that the points go with the driver. And if there's a substitute driver, if somebody gets hurt or something happens, too bad, so sad. Now, last year, they made an exception when Bob Tasca tested positive for COVID and they put Johnny Lindbergh in his car for the one race, that he was still earning points for Bob Tasca. And what I don't know for sure is whether or not Austin's semifinal finish counts for Clay or doesn't count for Clay. I don't know that.
Okay, so I had a conversation with Doug Stringer about this because we were, the economics situation, totally get it, totally agree. But, the future with an Austin Prock on the track is bright. And you mentioned a bunch of guys that I love and I'm friends with, and I want to see them all out there too, and definitely. But we need to get our marketing people going, and the capacity is going to be back, and hopefully more people will get vaccinated. That's a part of it, guys. People don't want to admit it, but it's true. And hopefully that settles itself. And you're right. We are coming out of a worldwide catastrophe, and we'll see what happens in 6 months or a year. And I hope he's back. I talked to Doug Stringer about this, and he said at the time that they were going to have to pull Clay, no points for Clay. Points are going to go with Austin, and that's it. And he wanted to make sure that the sport doesn't do things that incentivize lying. Like Clay did something that was very big and very smart and very personal. And, I know it from being a radio host, right? And you as the guy on the mic, like to hand over what you've worked so hard for, the blood, sweat, and tears, to someone else. And, the old Wally Pipp story with Lou Gehrig is out there, right? Like you don't want to get Wally Pipped, and everybody thinks about it. So for Clay to have to weigh, like, this is going to hurt me, it could hurt my team, but it's the right thing to do. What if like all of those thoughts had to be going through his mind. NHRA should be doing everything they can do to disincentivize keeping something like that a secret. And by allowing the points to go with the team in a situation, a medical like that, that would be a good deal. But from what Doug told me at the time, Austin's going to get the points, and Clay and those guys are going to take a hit because of this.
Yeah, and I agree with what Doug said to a point. It's just so difficult to decide where you draw the line. I mean, in my mind, almost like a backup car situation. Okay, if a driver makes the first run Sunday morning and for whatever reason, right, twists his ankle, did falls down the steps of the trailer, okay, I'm not allowing a substitute on race day. I'm just not in my mind. But in qualifying, in a situation like a guy makes the run, goes, this ain't good. It's not right. It's not safe. It's not. I need to step back. Do you make an allowance for that? And I don't know that you could make a black and white rule that would fit every occasion, but I think that there needs to be at least an application process, so to speak. Like I said last year, when Bob Taskett tested positive and he had to sit out of the car, there was an exception made. Now, obviously, last year there were a lot of exceptions made for a lot of things and a lot of different. And so, maybe there should be some type of review policy in place that in a situation like this, it happened during qualifying before the race started. There was a need to put in a substitute driver, and and again, I don't know. And you certainly, in my mind, it wouldn't be. You couldn't do it 6 races, right? If you broke your leg in Indy, they're not going to say, oh, well, let's put him in the car because he's going to be number 1 in the countdown to the championship going forward. And I don't think so. But on a race per race basis, I think that there should at least be some kind of a review process. And, who knows? It may, at some point, this may end up being known as the Austin Prock rule or the Clay Millican rule going forward. I don't know.
Right, Angie Smith out there. Congratulations to Matt. Angie, I want to get Matt on the show. By the way, let's book him.
Shenanigans.
Oh my gosh, Angie, we'll save it, Alan. We'll say, Angie, you got to stick around for a few more minutes. We'll keep her. This is like the one viewer tease. She won our ice cream eating contest, but Reinhart's calling her out. She says you should not have been able to use a metal spoon. The rules are loose, Alan, on purpose to see what kind of stuff the drivers will come up with.
So you're allowed to scoop your ice cream into somebody else's cup before you start and then go, look how much I ate. Look how much you didn't eat. Half of his is mine.
So funny, though. By the way, this is not Angie. It's Matt. So Matt is out there. So Matt says, I think one race for a sub driver should be allowed, but not in the countdown. Whatever doesn't incentivize someone to hide their medical condition and race in an unsafe way. And you've got a sponsor and you got a job and you got all these points and you're going to fall out of the top 10. That's the kind of stuff in our old school world. You remember, Alan, the stories of the stock car guys racing with concussions and they won't ever get out of the car because people will never do it if they feel like their job is on the line. And so we got to avoid that. And in this case, early in the season, Clay, give them both the points. I don't know. Got to reward Austin somehow too. Case by case basis. I'm all about that. This is drag racing. We've only got, 22 top fuel drivers to keep track of. I think we can monitor the situation on a case by case basis, but for Clay to have to, I'm going to lose all these points and the countdown and all that stuff, or I do what's right and safe. Whew. And he made the right choice because he's Clay Millican, but I can't be sure that everybody will do that. And I think we shouldn't incentivize that. So anyway,
I agree. Like I said, I think there just needs to be something, some type of a review process. Something. It was interesting seeing Clay on the starting line. It really felt to me like I was watching somebody who was standing on the side of the dance floor watching somebody else dance with his wife. That's what I really,
Yeah.
I don't believe he's ever watched that car go down the racetrack from the starting line, ever.
Yeah. No. And you could hear him on the starting line when I talked to him, and you hear him in the booth. Clay did a great job, but he was hurt. He was hurt. He was feeling a sense of loss, and it's almost great and terrible that someone's personality is so wrapped up into any one thing, but that's drag racing and that's the love. And I understood and I felt terrible for him, and he knew he was going to feel terrible. He did the right thing, and Austin got his moment. And I can't wait for Clay to be back and Austin to also be back. And it's just, that was an interesting, like a heartfelt story that was kind of woven through the whole deal. And great job by Austin going to the semis, loses to Steve Torrance, pan pressure switch, but hey, it made the race more entertaining, the whole extra stuff going on.
Yeah. Loses to Steve Torrance. That's not exactly an exclusive club, is it?
No, everybody now. And let's get into that. And I see McNeil Freeman out there giving points to both drivers. Right. Well, right. I'm sure the NHRA will work on it. But in the end,
I don't think you could do that, but whatever.
Well, exactly. And that's why these guys get paid the big bucks, Alan. While you and I hold the microphone, the rules makers, they get to make the decisions, and then we'll just second guess them after the fact, which is always fun. But Steve Torrance, Capco team, number one qualifier, gets through Sean Langdon, who's, having a tough year. Leah, which to me, that was the moment of drama in the race. Everybody's always talking about, street outlaws, and I went to the No Prep Kings and everything, and they're setting up all these moments of negotiation so you can see racers talk about things right outside of the car. And we got one of those. When the rain came down, Bobby Lagana, Steve came over all suited up to negotiate with Todd Okahara. What are we going to do? Are we going to refuel? Are we going to go back to the pits? Are we going to redo the clutch packs? What are we going to do? And there was, it was intense, Alan. It was intense. I don't know if you could hear any of it, but I heard all of it. And it was as dramatic a moment of negotiation among racers that I've ever seen. What are they going to do? Disqualify us all? And the answer was yes, that's what we'll do. If you're not back by the time, Brad Hardy jumps in there, makes the call. Wow, it was great. They got some of it for the TV show, but in the end, Steve does his thing, goes on, beats Leah, runs Austin, gets around Austin, sets up the final round. Final round, we couldn't have set it up better. Steve versus Brittany, who has been quick and fast, and Steve comes out on top, but I'm hoping that's not the last time we see this.
Oh, it definitely won't be. Not the way those two cars are running. And I really believe, and I don't think Steve would ever admit it, but I don't know, maybe he would now that he won the race. But I really believe that when Brittany ran that 369 in the semifinals, that he had to be at least a little bit shaken in his boots. I mean, if he and Bobby and Richard Hogan and the guys didn't look at that 369 and go, holy smokes, what are we going to do about that? They're just not human. They've got a great race car, and certainly Steve is a wonderful driver. Look at the championships, look at the stuff. I mean, there is not a weak point on that whole team. But when you look at what Brittany did performance-wise, that had to make them go, huh. So now, we're not going to have the lane we want. And now we're going to be, for the first time today, going up against somebody who not just looks like they can run with us, but has run quicker than us. And, at the end of the day, he ended up winning the thing because, well, he's Steve Torrance. And, congratulations to him. But no, I think he and Brittany are going to have many, many more opportunities like that. I love Friday night when we were doing the Facebook Live thing. Brittany makes her run, goes 372, which at the time was number one. And then Steve comes up behind her and goes 370. And we were able to talk with him via the top end. He had a NHRA and Fox headset on, so we were able to chit-chat back and forth in the tower. And, Amanda asked him about the number one qualifying spot. Yeah, really, it doesn't matter. He goes, we want to be number one, but it really doesn't matter if we take it from Doug, if we take it from Ed, none of that makes, as long as we're number one, we don't care. And then I said, hey, it's Reinhart. Are you honestly going to stand there and tell me that it's not extra special because it was Brittany? And he goes, well, of course it is. Well, then say that. We understand that you guys have a rivalry. Again, nobody's going to throw a brick at anybody. But Steve is still at least a little annoyed about a championship that he thinks got stolen from him. And Brittany's got a car that can run with him. And, it would be more fun, I think, if the two of them would engage a little bit more. I did talk to Steve candidly a little bit later in the weekend about it. And he said one of the things, and not that, he's, the typical Texan, send me your best kind of guy. But he says, you have any idea how many fans come up and, call me a bully or because I'm picking on a girl? Because I'm not picking on a girl. I'm picking on a driver that's won championships that, a girl has nothing to do with it. But he said, they all get in my face about it. He said, I just, and I guess I understand that. Maybe if it was Doug or, if it was Anton, which it would never be because they love each other, but maybe if it wasn't a girl, that the fans would be okay with. And I wish the fans would look at them as two championship caliber race car drivers, not a boy and a girl. Two championship caliber race car drivers. Because I guarantee you, the car has no idea if it's a boy or a girl hitting the gas. It just knows that I got somebody in here. I need to get to the finish line in a hurry.
Well, it's old habits die hard. We're trying to work through so many different things in our little world, and it is tough because I believe that all the time. But there are old school people like if Steve gets aggressive with Brittany because Steve's a wild man, right? You could see him just like yelling and hooting and hollering, and that's not her style. But if she beats him a couple of times and gets confident, like right now, she doesn't have the confidence. She hasn't won a race just yet. She's getting better, getting quicker. John Force revealed on the show a week ago, which is why you got to watch every single week, every single show, subscribe, never miss one, ever, 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 that Brittany is going through some reaction training, etc., to get better and quicker and better. But also Clay Millican revealed on the broadcast that he said flat out his car reaction time, which you know all about. His car reaction time is quicker now than it was when he drove Grubnick's car. He said that flat out. So you combine those two couple of things, it makes sense to me. You could come up with about 20 thou. And, you know, Brittany is getting better. They're working on it. When she starts to win, had she beat him in this final round or the next final round, I think she's going to feel more empowered. You don't want to talk trash when you haven't done it just yet. I think the best of that lies in front of us, and I certainly hope so. I would love to have seen Brittany directly engage with Steve, and I think Steve would love that too. He can handle it. A little back and forth. Hey, I'm coming for you. We got a car now. I'm coming for you. That would be great. The fans would love it. I think they'll be able to handle it. I just don't think Britt is there just yet with the confidence of the whole package.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't question Brittany's confidence, but you're right about the fact that, you know, her recent accomplishments don't measure up to Steve, and maybe that's part of it. You know, I think the fans have gotten beyond, in like the Greg and Erica case, I think the fans have gotten beyond the fact that Greg is picking on a girl. Greg isn't picking on a girl. He's picking on a 4-time champion.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no difference to Greg whatsoever. And obviously, you know, Erica will give it right back to him. She ain't shying away from anybody. And I think the fans have gotten to the point where they look at those two now as, you know, look, two multi-time champions, one who's still in the prime of her career, one who is getting late in his career. And I mean, I love you, Greg, but you know, you're not going to do this as long as she is at this point in time. You're just simply not. So, you know, I think the fans have gotten to the point where they, you know, have taken the boy versus girl thing out of this, and it's just two championship drivers that really don't care for each other. And when they go head to head, it's special. And I think maybe some time would do the same thing. You know, if Brittany wins another championship, Brittany wins some more races, then maybe the fans would look away from the, you know, he's not picking on a girl. He's picking on somebody that can take a championship away from him. And he don't care if it's a boy or girl. It's just somebody who can take a championship away from him.
Right. Well, it's primitive thinking. Let's be honest, okay? I don't want to upset anybody, but if you think that way, it's primitive thinking. That's old world stuff. And I know people who are raised in the old world, they of course, you expect them to have old world thinking, and they do. But who's going to protect Greg Anderson from Erica picking on him? That's the deal, right? She's got a whole team, elite. They're all there. And Erica is a driver and she can go 005 on him when she wants to. Well, who's going to protect Greg? That's the way of the world, is that women have asserted themselves in such a way, and God love them for it, that they're the ones you got to worry about getting after somebody. And so any fan that thinks that, I don't know, come on, welcome, enter the 2000s at least, because that's not the way of the world.
I get it. I really do. But I think that it just takes more time, you know, to establish Brittany as a rival equal. When Steve's got multiple championships and now 48 race wins, and Brittany hasn't quite gained that level of success yet. I don't think that, you know, it's not ability. It's not, I think she just hasn't quite gained that level of success yet. Hopefully when she does, then they'll be able to embrace the rivalry a little bit more, and we'll be able to run with it.
Exactly. But if we have to wait for Brittany to win 3 championships and 2 in a row and a perfect countdown, we're not going to get there. I hope Britt can play the role a little bit. Someone will be the one to knock the Capco team off the top. It will happen. NHRA drag racing is not going to end with Steve Torrence as the final Top Fuel world champion in the history of ever. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Antron, a great friend, and they love each other? Will it be Billy, his dad, who would love to do it and smack talk him all the way? Will it be a Brittany Force? Will it be a Justin Ashley? Will it Josh Hart? Like Josh Hart, man, that guy left on Justin Ashley, and he is ice cold. Like, he's got a personality, but he doesn't care about anything except for crushing the competition. He's like Ivan Drago almost. It's going to be exciting. We're just now setting up for what is a run to the countdown, and it started off great this weekend. Let's talk Top Fuel, where I think this is, funny car, the Cruz Pedregon victory. We've been on this story. I'm proud of us. This has been the flashing red light of a story. Cruz Pedregon makes all these moves. When will it pay off? It paid off this past weekend.
Yeah, he's had a good car. He's been getting closer. You know, they've been kind of tickling away at it. I think that it's really interesting that the week after John Collins talked him into finally becoming not the last guy who doesn't wear a chin strap. And I think he's got better control of the car now. I think he's got better vision on the racetrack now. And, whether that had anything to do with the victory or not, I couldn't tell you, but it certainly didn't hurt. They had a good car. They went to the final against Bob Tasker, who's the point leader. I thought the Tasker-Force matchup in second round might have been the best run of the day, simply because, you don't often get a winner take the point lead head-to-head, one run, come and get you some. And Tasker handled that. So it was just a good day of funny car racing from top to bottom. You mentioned Mike McIntyre at the early part of the show, a guy that just lives a couple hours away from the racetrack, qualified number 8, almost matched his career best, missed it by a hundredth of a second, had a really good car, had a lot of fan reaction when he brought it up, because those Ohio people love to root for their own people. And, ended up against J.R. Todd in round number 1 where he smoked the tires. The classic case of, why did that have to be the bad run, right? Why couldn't we make that run on Saturday afternoon? Right. And then come Sunday and at least make a clean run? But I think those guys showed, Aaron Brooks is over there working on that thing. He's a really bright guy. Tony Shortall also been around a long time. And I think he showed that they've got a car now that can at least come out, maybe not ready to set the track record or win 3 races in a row, but certainly a car that can come out and play the spoiler role.
Absolutely. And it was good. And I spoke with Tony a couple of times, and he revealed that they did some testing and that they got a new clutch in the car, and that these people are not the McIntyre family. They're not just like, hey, we got a funny car. Like, they want to win some rounds, and they looked good. But I'm thinking in terms of like championship contenders. Wow. Bob Tasker, I heard he was gutted by the 100 reaction time in the final round. If he had won in front of Edsel Ford, he's got those Ford executives there. They're on the starting line, and he is showcasing their decision-making, like they decided. And to me, it was really kind of an interesting juxtaposition. You've got Edsel Ford is there. Bob Tasker is going to the final. And also they're setting records with the Cobra Jet 1400, 812 at 169 miles per hour. Spoke with one of the Ford engineers about electrification and the message with Ray. He said, we're about performance, and we are all in on electrification. And for road cars, this is the thing. But we love performance, and we're super excited. And the fact that Bob is like the key, and like people would kill to have the highest level of executives there for their company. Bob made it to the final round. No shame in that. But today was Cruz Pedregon's day, and he broke down in the winner's circle, and that was great to see.
Yeah, for Cruz, been a long time coming. The fact that his daughter was there to be a part of it was extra special also. And I think you have to factor in the Norwalk factor. If that race takes place at another racetrack, it might not carry quite as much weight, because, Norwalk has become we got to win now. It hasn't been around nearly as long as obviously the U.S. Nationals, the Gator Nationals, the Winter Nationals, all of the grandfather races. But it has developed into a must-win. It's like, you got to have this one on your resume. It seems like it's extra special to win Norwalk than it is some of the other places. And I think that might have had something to do with it as well. But, hey, if you're Bob Tasker, he went to Edsel Ford. He went to the board of directors at Ford and said, look, drag racing is something we got to do. You guys need to get in this. You need to do this. You need to back me, and I will pay dividends, put it all on my shoulders, and I will show you. And that's a lot of pressure to take in. And he right now is paying off the dividends. The fact that he came up a little short in the final round, would you love to win it? Obviously, you'd love to win it. But good on track time, good TV exposure time. Bob obviously maximizes every opportunity he has to talk about Ford and to talk about their product. And, the Cobra Jet project I think is cool. And I'm waiting for it to go into the sevens. When it goes into the sevens, those guys are going to lose their minds on the starting line.
Absolutely. And I asked them, because that's something I'm interested in, right? It's first of all, we had the Constant Aviation Factory Showdown out there, and those cars are as amazing as they get, and they're running 780s. And you got this Cobra Jet 1400, it's going 812. Okay. Like, there's apples, not apples and oranges, like apples and, bananas, but the numbers, right? They don't lie. They got this thing moving now. And it's very amazing. The Ecopo that was referenced, that thing went 969, and you and I were very amazed. And now this thing is going considerably quicker. They are part of the future of drag racing. They will never totally take over drag racing. People, I think, need not fear that. Just be interested in the technology. Really interesting stuff. Hey, one other comment, though. Someone just mentioned out there about Cruz's victory. Like, I know we're all happy for Cruz for a myriad of reasons. Cruz, one of the old school drivers, old school champs. made all these moves. But how about the Eric Lane connection? Ryan Elliott posted on his Facebook that this one was for Eric Lane, and thinking that Eric had connections to many of the people on both of those teams with his DSR affiliation, and of course then working for Cruz and Tasca, really also both cars in the final round. Like just, you can't overstate it. The emotions run deep, many layers. And even if it's not the first thing you think about, Eric Lane was there for this final round.
Yeah, there's always a lot of stuff going on under the surface. And, for those of us that have been around a long time, some of the connections we make and some of them, you get reminded of, after the race is over, and somebody goes, oh, you remember? And it's like, you know what? I hadn't thought of that. That was, 18 years ago or whatever. But yeah, I can see how, when you're sitting in the car and you're going, the last time I did this X, Y, Z, or the one time that this happened, and as well as I do, the drivers have memory like an elephant, right? And it's like, I'm still mad at that guy. Why? Because 17 years ago, he hung me out an extra 3 seconds in the last qualifying. And it's like, come on, dude, get over it. But they never forget that stuff. And in those moments, I always find it amazing to think of, what does pop into their head? What thing, what memory gets triggered because of this particular thing? And, Eric is going to be a part of all of this for a long time. I don't know. This is like, we all know me, right? I'm the most logical, unemotional guy in the history of the world. I still have Eric Lane's cell phone number, and I still have Eric Medlin's cell phone number. I just can't bring myself to delete it. So
no deleting numbers ever.
When things happen that bring back those special memories of guys that they spent time with, and whoever it is. And Hop wasn't really that long ago that we lost him, so I think it's cool that they acknowledge that.
Yeah, well, the fact that they were able to do it, right, to break through and have that moment, it was pretty amazing. I do want to mention Alexis also in that, in the dream scenario, like who would do well so that our sport can grow. And that's why sports grow, is because captivating, interesting personalities do big things, and no one person can carry it all. And so for Alexis to be back, that's big, but for Alexis to be back winning races would be bigger. I really feel that now they have got a car that can win races. She was beating herself up badly about her reaction times, but to me, it's just a matter of time before she gets that sorted out, because now she's got the confidence that her car can win and watching the process, right? Okay, Alexis on deck for a win. Cruz got his. Alexis is on deck. Now you just got to go do it. We got 3 races coming up, and that makes people want to watch.
No, I agree. And, we've talked about the last couple of weeks, okay, who's going to be the next one to break through? And Cruz was always part of that conversation. Now he's done it. Alexis has got a great race car. You said it's, her getting back in the groove is helping out. And I think she's in a good situation. There are certain teams out there that when a driver struggles, even if they don't, publicly say it, right? No crew chief is going to come out to his driver, especially when his driver, is bringing the sponsor in his position like Alexis is, and call him out publicly. We've certainly seen crew chiefs in the past when it's like a hired driver, well, everybody but Joe did their job. We should have won this race. But Alexis is in a position right now where the guys publicly and privately are all saying, we're going to get there. We're fine. We're not upset about this. We're not mad at her. We will get there. And just, this is part of the process. So I think that's a great environment for her. I think that, as I said, she's got all the support of everybody that works on that car. And they know that it's the process, and they know they're making progress, and they know they're going to get there. So as long as they keep the goal in sight, keep focused, and keep encouraging her, they're going to be fine.
And she was not afraid to show her emotion and beat herself up. And that's what we've been asking for a long time, and why she's such a good driver to have out there, because she doesn't filter herself, doesn't need to, well, I shouldn't say that because a fan might think that. And Alexis doesn't care about that. She just cares about getting the job done. And so she's going through a tough spot at this race. Fine. We'll catch up with her at the next one when she puts it all together, and that'll be interesting. That's how you make fans, by showing people who you are.
Well, see, I want the fans to know that the drivers care. And that's why it annoys me when somebody gets out of the car and goes, oh, well, that's a great team. We were lucky to beat them. Oh, well, we'll see you next week. Or goes, oh, well, that's drag racing. What are you going to do about it? I want fans to know that it matters, right? I want a driver to get out of the car and, kick the tire, throw a helmet every once in a while, or do something. If Alexis gets out of the car and she's mad because she's lost, I want that. I want my fans to understand this really means something to these people. And, if you and I race and I get out of the car and I come over and go, hey, Joe, great run. Congratulations. Ah, boy, you got me that time. Ah, see you later. I'm going to go have a beer.
Yeah.
All my fans are going, so he doesn't care that he got his ass kicked? I mean, he didn't care? I want you to care. And so emotion like that, I'll take it every time I can get it on both sides. When it's Bob Taskett jumping out of the car, yelling and screaming, I will take that. I want the fans to see this is important to my driver. And that's why he's my driver or she's my driver.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to pro stock. Whereas we could talk funny car all day. Like Matt Hagan had a tough one. Paul Lee lost a close one. Just good stuff in funny car, and I think it's going to get better and better. Danny Hood had Force running good, and I got to say the Force Whisperer. The Force Whisperer, Alan. Come on, man. See, speaking of references, you're just jealous you didn't come up with it. The Force Whisperer, because horse and force rhyme, Alan. See, that's what you're not getting. Horse and a horse whisperer.
I have known John Force for 40 some years. In all of that time, in all of these situations that he and I have been in together, some public, somewhere it was just the two of us, not once has anybody ever gotten anything across to John Force by whispering.
It's not about literal
Not
whispering.
One.
It's not about whispering. It's about cosmic understanding of chemistry and energy. It's about doing the right thing at the right time. The dog whisperer doesn't whisper to the dogs.
Yes, he does.
Knows what to do. He knows how to make moves. He knows how to handle the situation.
Yeah.
This is not over. The Force whisperer.
Right.
Next time he wins.
You whisper to Force like guys in the Star Wars who are part of the Force whispered to each other with lightsabers. That's how you get his attention.
All right. I don't know. That's not what Force told us. But let's go to what I found to be the most interesting of great final rounds. Speaking of rivalries, Alan, we had Steve and Brittany, and we had Steve Johnson and Matt Smith. We'll talk about that. There's real, genuine rivalries, but I don't think any of them was as good as Greg versus Erica, with the whole Greg lost to Erica for her first win and didn't want to be a footnote in history, didn't want to be that footnote. And on the flip side, Greg is now trying to tie Warren, and wouldn't it have just been so poetic, or however you want to say it, for Erica to lose to Greg, for him to tie Warren Johnson at Summit Motorsports Park? And she's like, oh, hell no, 005. And oh, hell no, that's not happening today. Not today, Greg. And she dials up a 005 and wins.
I loved watching the team on the starting line. And they did the same thing last week when Aaron Stanfield was in the final, because the elite guys and, the rivalry between elite and KB is really the gift and on track. And the elite guys love beating Greg, whether it's first round, whether it's final round, whether there's a record on the line, or whether, they're racing for a diet soda. They don't care. They just want to beat Greg. And it's just extra when you're holding him back from something that he wants so badly. Lose to him for the 94th win. Okay, we didn't like that, but lose it. But now, and the other thing that I think is an interesting dynamic is, how can you picture Warren Johnson rooting for a female pro stock driver ever? Because he was yesterday.
Yes,
I mean, I feel like
he was. He had his Erica foam finger, and he definitely.
But Greg again had a great race car, and again came very close. And I loved what Greg said at the top end of the racetrack. I mean, he gave credit to Erica, and he said, I didn't drive badly today. I didn't do a bad job today. She did better. She won the race. Congratulations. She's a championship driver. He said, but I'm not leaving here hanging my head like Oda, because he feels like he did a good job. She did a job that was good enough to beat him, but he doesn't feel like that's one he let get away. And as a driver, especially in a pro stock category, okay, if you're running super gas, that's different. If you're running a big dollar bracket race, that's different. But if you're driving a pro stock car and you're going to beat yourself up every time somebody has a 005 light in the other lane, you're going to have a lot of self-inflicted black eyes, because that's something that you just can't go up. You've got to go up there and go, look, 20, 25, good. Greg, I believe, was 30 in the final. He wasn't 65, okay? When he went up there a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, and it's like, lights 066 in the final. That's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. You can't do that, and everybody knows it. But when you go up there and you're 025 or you're 030 in the final, and she pulls out a 005, God bless her. That's because she's that good. She can do that on a fairly consistent basis. But if you put in your head every time I go to the starting line, if I'm not 005, I'm going to lose, then you're going to give away way more races than the one he lost last week. But it was fun to watch. It was a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And as I said earlier, I'm just sorry that so many of the fans went home, because with full grandstands at that point, that would have made that moment even better.
Well, yes, and I get it. It was just, Ma nature. It was a bummer of a deal. We had one of our best races with personalities and rivalries after rain, etc., and just a shame. Some interesting moments before that Pro Stock final round. The rain came down and they were up there and we were waiting. So you got Team Elite and obviously KB, kind of all the 1 and 2 cars in the lanes. And that's not an optimal situation before a big rivalry final round race, like all be hanging out together. And so it was kind of funny to watch everyone go off into their own areas and kind of get their mind right. Greg kind of went over by the board that Moats blows down every year at the Night of Fire. Erica, she was underneath the grandstands just by herself. By the way, Erica's going to be on the show tomorrow. What is it? 2:30 Eastern time? We're going to have Erica on tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern time, and we're going to ask her about all of this stuff. And Cruz Pedregon will be on Thursday, guys. So we're going to have Erica, and we're going to have Cruz. Spread the word, share the show, get a banner plane. WFO this week is going to be amazing. But man, Pro Stock, so good. We got to talk about one team out there, the Kings of Speed, Val Smeeland and Kenny Delco. You always say it, Alan, about how speed equals horsepower. Well, Frank Iaconio Racing Engines, they've done something over there. I talked to a couple of crew chiefs. Everyone was saying, hey, man, those guys are fast. Like, they've got big miles per hour. Talk a little bit about that. Is there any way it doesn't mean Frank Iaconio has got big horsepower going on right now?
No, they made some giant strides a couple of years ago, and obviously, they didn't sit around all last year doing nothing. It seems like as of late, now whether it's a tune-up thing or whether that they have found whatever the missing ingredient was. The interesting thing is, if I tomorrow gave Elite Motorsports 40 more horsepower, they wouldn't automatically be 40 more horsepower faster tomorrow. It would take them 15 or 20 runs to figure out exactly which gear ratios, the starting line launch is going to change, everything. There's so many adjustments that you have to make. And I think when they came up with, when they made a big horsepower leap a couple of years ago, and it took them a while to get the cars acclimated, because Pro Stock racing is so precise, okay? If I put 40 extra horsepower in that car, it's going to be 40 extra horsepower faster, but it's not maximized right now. If I wanted to maximize that thing like they do a Pro Stock car, work on what exactly is the perfect rear end ratio, what exactly is the perfect low gear ratio in the 4-speed, what's the perfect second gear ratio. If I have maximized all of that for whatever horsepower I have, okay, let's just say 700 is a round number, and I now know that's as fast as that car can physically go on a perfect run in great conditions with 700 horsepower. You give me 40 more horsepower, it's going to take me at least 10 or 12 runs to maximize that. Can I put it in and just leave everything alone and be a little faster? Sure. But can I now maybe pull a 263 low gear instead of a 266? I don't know. We're going to have to try that. Okay, well, can I maybe pull a 260 instead of a 260? I don't know. Now we're going to have to, that's another run, and that's another run. And then you start figuring out what your splits need to be. Okay, what if I drop the engine another 50 RPM or another 75 RPM on the gear change by changing second gear? Not anything else, just changing second gear. Does that put it back into a better torque position? Is that going to pick me up? And we're talking about picking up, 6 or 7 thousandths of a second with each one of these changes, not picking up a tenth and a half. So by the time you get it maximized, you're in 12, 15 runs. There's a reason pro stockers test so much, because they go to all of this extent to try to maximize all those little things. So when we get into XYZ conditions, right, 3,200 feet of density altitude with 111 grains of water, and a barrel at 29.7 and a track temperature. Okay, we know what to do here. You know why? Because we've made that run before. And so now we know what to do. But when you introduce anything new, and even if it's more horsepower, it takes time before you maximize the rest of it. The speed shows that they're making pretty big steam. They got the engines running happy up top. Now what they need to do is maximize everything between when the driver drops the clutch and when he puts the thing in high gear about 600 feet down the racetrack. And that just simply takes time. Greg and Jason go to Mooresville Dragway and test and test and test and test and test. It's an 8-mile drag strip. And they learn because you don't have to go to the quarter mile. You're learning everything by the time you put it in high gear. Once you put it in high gear, where's the finish line?
Right.
Okay, parachutes. You're not tuning engine fuel a little bit. You can do most of that on the dyno. But you're not tuning the car from 8 mile to the finish line. You're tuning the car from the time you drop the clutch to about 550 or 600 feet. And that's where you got to work on it. They'll figure it out. They're showing they've got power, and now they need to get the ET to go with it.
Yeah, well, having the power is the hard part. And once you got that, you can do a lot of things. I'm excited about, again, the season is a process. And when we started the process, we were talking about only Greg and Erica, right? And here in the final round, they were together. But we have seen that there are going to be other players. Dallas Glenn is in the mix. Matt Hartford's got a very good car, top to bottom. Kid Chaos, by the way, if they had been able to keep the car running the way it had run the previous 2 rounds, he actually left on Erica. He was 008 to her 15. Kid Chaos, that kid wants to be a part of this conversation. So the Pro Stock story is not yet written. It's going to get better and better as we continue on. And just another reason why.
But Greg still has the best car.
Clear.
Absolutely, positively, Greg has the best car.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I can tell the sound of Greg's car. Like, back in the day, my dad would always tell me that kids on the street would try to guess the sound of a car as it came by before they could see it, because everybody had their own corporate engines, right? Pontiac, Chevrolet, Buick Olds, etc. I can close my eyes and I know Greg Anderson's car from every other Pro Stock car. It just has a different growl to it. They've got something going on. Who knows what it is? That clearly has the performance, as he told you. In an alternate universe, he could have won 4 in a row right now. It just hasn't happened. But they've been in the mix every one of these races back to Houston. So watch out when he gets it going.
I hope he's not mad at me for saying this, but a lot of people don't know that they threw away the headers and went back to stock exhaust manifolds. And that's why it sounds good.
Cast iron was the key, Alan. Who knew?
An extra 8 pounds up there on the front of the engine. One place to bolt it. Put a couple of manifolds on it. It'll be fine.
You got to think outside the box, and that's why they've been able to go ahead. All right, let's go to Pro Stock Motors. That's a joke, people looking for serious commentary. That is a joke. And thanks to Bill Bader, we have more categories to talk about. We're not done yet. Let's talk Pro Stock.
just one real quick funny header story. But
yes,
a number of years ago, a guy, and I'm not gonna mention any names, but he kept talking about his car sounded funny. Pro Stock car. And he starts it up, and it's like, yeah, it sounds good. And he's like, no, we've checked, and he said, it just sounds fun. And I said, change camshaft? He goes, well, change the headers? And he went, wait. And the camshaft, I think, was a triple swap. And the line of the way the pipes go down and meet in the collector is part of the firing order has to play a part in that. That's why some engines like a tri-Y header and some don't, because you need the pulses to be properly going through the header. And they had changed the camshaft firing order that didn't match the header. And it sounded weird. It ran okay, but it sounded weird. So anyway, there's a lot going on in Pro Stock. A lot.
Well, like George is on here saying, I feel sorry for Alan Przinsky. Still think NHRA hates the Hemi Pro Stock engine, which is like that. Let's settle it right now, George. That is not the truth. That NHRA hates an engine is in there, setting up the rules so that Alan Przinsky can't have a good run. They would love for Alan Przinsky to carry the flag for the Dodge fans. It's just, there's many factors going on over there. Like Alan is underfunded and he doesn't have enough staff and he's trying to do it all himself. But also those Hemi engines, they like a higher RPM. They just like a higher RPM. So there'd have to be a rule crafted to allow the Dodges to spin higher. And a lot of people don't want to do that.
Well, I think, yes, in the configuration that they were running before the rev limit came in, they liked a higher RPM. So now you just have to figure out how to make it happy at that RPM. When we first started running the Hemis, we weren't running 10,500 RPM, but we were fast. And I'm talking about, when I was working with David 20 years ago or whatever it was. And so they have evolved. And now you have to devolve a little bit. And if that means you have to redesign a port, if that means maybe you have to change an angle of a valve, if that means maybe you have to get your peak power back where it's needed, and without factory support, that is a huge issue. If the Chevrolet guys go to GM and say, hey, we need to make a little different cylinder head deal hook. We need to change something in the casting for the cylinder head, or we need to design a different port. When you get the raw head, you've got so much to work with. And when you're doing it by yourself, as Alan Brzezinski is, as far as from a Dodge standpoint, and you don't have factory support, that just makes it a much more difficult mountain to climb. The engine doesn't know it's a Hemi. The pistons don't know they're in a Hemi. You just have to figure out what it is that made it happy and make the adjustment to make it happier at a lower RPM level. And when you're doing it by yourself, it's difficult.
Right. The brain power at Elite and the brain power at KB have got 4 cars each that they're advancing the technology and trying stuff and marching forward. And Alan Brzezinski is Alan Brzezinski, and he's doing the best he can with what he's got. What do you think is going to end up as the result in that scenario? Then Alan is going to find the magical situation that's going to allow him to outrun those guys. Like, that's not how it works in the real world. And to George out there, would you like to see like a Alan Brzezinski Hemi exemption rule, like, a 50 horse kit that he's allowed? We're going to spray. I don't think anybody wants to see that. And so it's just a tough situation. But no, the NHRA is trying to hurt Alan Brzezinski.
Then you get back to where we were in the early 80s. It's like, my brand beat your brand. Well, sure, it's 150 pounds lighter.
Exactly.
You still have a real car like we got, and let's go race head to head. And my brand beat your, yeah, but you're allowed 400 more cubic inches than I. It just no. And you mentioned brain power, and Alan Brzezinski is a plenty smart guy.
Yes.
But think about budget and think about engineering support. The Chevrolet teams, the GM teams, all can call Chevy and go, hey, we got a problem. Can you guys look at this? And they've got a ton of engineering support that comes directly from the factory. Alan doesn't have that. So I hope that he gets there, and I hope sooner rather than later, because it'll be more fun when he's more competitive.
Exactly. We want Alan Brzezinski in the sport, and John Gadosh and others, and the Quadras who are like, look what they're doing. But to blame NHRA and the rules makers as if they're deliberately trying to run someone out of the sport, like anybody who says that, like, please, guys, that's not what's happening in this circumstance. All right, let's talk Pro Stock Motorcycle, where a couple of big stories that I really enjoyed. Like, I want to see Joey Gladstone win a race. Like, that's one of my things. Like, I've been a fan of this kid for a long time. He can go 00 whenever he wants for the most part. He's got a good head on his shoulders, good family. Got to the semifinals, came up short against Steve Johnson, who is another great story, and great to see Steve go back-to-back final rounds. Goes up against Matt Smith, and I feel like the Matt Smith, Steve Johnson, back and forth, swapping of low ET per session, that kind of stuff had everybody glued to Pro Stock Motorcycle. Had a couple of nightmare scenarios. Kelly Klontz had an incident on the top end of the racetrack. Even Andrew Hines went into the trap. First time in his career, Alan, in the sand trap for Andrew Hines. Told me flat out, has never hit a block, has never touched the wall, and had never been in the trap in his entire career. This was the first time he'd been in the sand.
Well, I hope that doesn't mean he's got 2 more things to check off, because you don't have to do that, Drew. Yeah, and I don't know what the situation was there. I honestly don't. I don't know if they had some kind of a brake malfunction, or if, I don't know. But thankfully, he laid the thing over fairly gently. He was able to climb off of it and walk away. It was great to see Kelly get up and walk to the ambulance where they checked her out and then released her there on site. So glad that both of them were okay after their incidents. But no, fun day at Pro Stock Motorcycle Racing. And I still think that Matt should send Steve a thank you card for qualifying number 1, because Matt does not want he and Angie and Scotty all in the same quad. And it's not a matter of, it's a matter of he doesn't want to be wiping out his own bikes, right? He'd like to have both of them in the final, or all of them in the semifinal or something. Let's get him in later in the day. And when the ladder was set the way it was before Steve went to the number 1 spot, Matt was in a pretty precarious situation from a team standpoint, when you know that if your day goes perfect, you'll have 1 bike in the semifinal. That's all you can do. So, Steve doing that helped. I wish they'd have jawed a little bit more about that. But, the fact the 2 of them ended up in the final. And Steve actually called me yesterday and told him, what happened? He said, well, here's the deal. He said, the crew chief part of me screwed up the call on the clutch. That's why the 60-foot was on. He said, the rider part of me screwed up and couldn't hit his shift points on time. He said, it was just, the bad time to make the worst run, which is exactly what happened. Matt picked a good time to make a great run, and it worked out for him. But Steve had actually called me. He said that he went back and listened to the .TV and wanted to comment about what I said in the final. He said, it's so true that what I said, I don't care who wins this race, the other guy's not going to come over and say congratulations, because these guys don't like each other. And He said, that's true. He said, when Matt won, he comes around the corner, the TV cameras go over there, and he said, I'm getting out of here before I have, because I don't want them to come over and go, gee, he said, he's upset that and so just started pushing his bike down the road because he didn't want to be a part of it. He didn't want to watch the celebration. He wasn't happy for Matt. And I'm going, good. And I think Matt felt exactly the same way. If Steve had won that race, ain't no way Matt's going over there and, hey, good job, bro. We'll see you next. No. And those two guys, it's good now because those two guys have got a at your throat type of mentality. Obviously, Matt's got his multi-bike team, which is good. You mentioned Joey Gladstone. That team. I keep wondering when Jerry Savoie was going to wake up. Right? I mean, there's nobody out there, that has better equipment, better budget, better. And Tim Kalungian is one of the smartest guys out there. So they're snake bit for whatever reason, or alligator bit maybe. But it's fun because there are so many competitive motorcycles out there that coming up in any given round, it's like, okay. It was nice to see Gianna Salinas go out and make some nice runs. She didn't end up with a very long day on Sunday, but she made it to Sunday, and she looks like she's getting a little bit more confident on the bike, and they're starting to figure out, the new power and stuff. So, I think the class is going to continue to get better, but it sure is fun watching Steve and Matt. Now that Steve has got enough horsepower that he can talk the smack and he can go out on the track and back it up. So you can talk all the smack in the world, but if you haven't been to a semifinal in 8 races, nobody cares. And Steve now has been to the finals for the last couple of races. He's a legitimate threat in the points. He's a legitimate threat every time he comes out. Matt knows he's a legitimate threat, and that makes it more fun.
Yes, and the whole stare down in the final, that deal that happened. Like I think of all the rivalries that are out there. Like I don't think Steve Torrance dislikes Brittany Force. Like I don't think it's that. Greg and Erica, I know that they don't dislike each other. They just don't want to be the second tier line in a headline for the other, right? Because they are both alpha. They want to do it. Matt and Steve, their personalities just do not mix well. And they've got a long history, and they'll be respectful. I have no worry that they're going to end up in a little worry, but it's not a big worry that they're going to end up in a ball on the top end tussling. But this is not a friendly rivalry. And I think Steve, I heard him hit the chip going down the racetrack, and Steve is going to be back. This rivalry is going to continue. I think he needed to take that to feel like, all right, you don't just, Matt Smith is a champion, 4 times for a reason. He's a very, very intense and serious dude when it comes to drag racing. He's Tricky Ricky's kid. He's got all that and then his own stuff. And so going at him is going to be very, very challenging. And now Steve's got the power, and they're going to race a lot. And so, isn't that exciting for all of us?
I think so. I think it's fun. And I think kind of where you draw the line. If Erica's race rig was broke down on the side of the road on the way to the racetrack, and Greg's race rig was coming by, they'd stop and offer to help.
Yes.
If Steve Johnson's race rig was broken down on the side of the road and Matt Smith was driving by, I think he'd honk the air horn and wave.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's at least that we even have to ask the question. And I think where it's happening, like if they're a couple of miles outside of town, maybe if they're in a, middle of nowhere, maybe they would stop because, karma and stuff. Look, this is Angie now. Matt has more weapons in his camp. MSR × 4 says Angie. All right. So now's your chance.
You're sure that's Angie?
Angie has indicated
shenanigans.
Ange, he's
for those of you that didn't see it, they have an ice cream eating contest. Everybody knows this Norwalk ice cream story, right? Send Angie a link. Everybody knows the Norwalk ice cream story. So you get your cup of ice cream and it's full, and they're gonna have an ice cream eating contest. 1 minute, everybody see how much you can eat, and whoever eats the most wins. Angie's in the contest. Now, while they're starting, Joe's going around interviewing all the players, right? It's like, hey, we've got Derek, and hey, we've got this. And while they're doing that, Angie is spooning her ice cream over into somebody else's cup the whole time. And then by the time they yell go, she's only got half a cup of ice cream to start with. And then when they yell go, she brings out this ladle where everybody else has got a teaspoon that I understand had been soaking in hot water so it would help soften up the ice cream. I mean, come on. Okay, maybe there's not a rule that specifically says you're not allowed to use a hot ladle to eat your ice cream with, but that's shenanigans.
Listen, the rules makers of the Norwalk ice cream eating contest want to leave some areas for creativity, and also comedy, the two C's, comedy and creativity. And Angie took all that she could, and she went in there and she used her brain, as she says. It was a gray area, and she did win it. I got to give credit to Jim Campbell, though, who is fighting against many different elements in this as a defending champion. And he gave it a ride in spite of it. And Jim had to answer the joke. He's like, I don't have to worry about brain freeze because I don't have a brain. But it was very intense. But Angie is now the champ. And so next year we'll have to see. I guess we're going to have to break out the scales now, Alan. We're going to measure, and we're going to have the approved, spoon dimensions, temperature, all of the above.
If they can check nitro temperature for an A fuel car, they can check spoon temperature in an ice cream eating contest.
Yes.
And everybody in the pits has got a gram scale. So
yes.
Here's the deal. Bring your own gram scale, and we're going to use it to weigh somebody else's ice cream.
Oh, there it is. Protest. You can protest.
Well, it's like, look, I brought my scale. Look, it's a pound, right? It's like I brought my own scale. Look, it's a pound. No.
But it was funny. I'm glad you appreciated it. And
it was hilarious. And okay, here's the deal, Angie, because I know Angie's going, look, I want to tell you something. Win the next race, and then when you come on the show, I'll be here and we can have it out.
Yes, exactly.
There's your incentive.
She's going to use the scoop that Matt won for the next ice cream eating contest. I don't know. That spoon's pretty heavy.
I think that thing is great. Now, there's one of those rules, right? If you've won a scoop, you should be able to. If you're not good enough to win Norwalk, well, you're going to have to use that chintzy spoon. I won this. I'm good with that. I like that.
There it is. Well, we're working on it. The rules committee gathers a couple of times each year, and we sort out and discuss different rules and how they would affect the eating of the contest, and we'll see how it goes. But now this is the second one. Nikki and I, we did a swear. I said, hey, Nick, this is now a thing, the ice cream eating contest, right? So if I were to drop dead, the contest must continue. And she's like, agreed, the same. And so the ice cream eating contest at Norwalk, it is now a real thing after it has done twice. Everybody wants to know about your fire damage, Alan. I don't know. They missed the beginning of the show, but just give them a couple of them. They all want to know about your fire. They want to know about your fire.
Well, the good news is the house was not damaged. The fire backyard is just a blackened, just black and barren space right now. The jacuzzi got some damage. The storeroom on the back got some damage, but that's where it ended. The damage ended basically at the back of the house. So the house itself is fine. Couple of little things. The firefighters wanted to go inside the house to ensure that the fire hadn't jumped, because it burned the storage building is actually attached to the house, and it burned not to the ground, but enough that they wanted to be sure that the fire hadn't jumped inside the roof or something. So in going in the house, apparently 5 guys with the muddiest boots they could find and a couple of hoses, they went in the front door and drug it all the way through the house. So I think my cleanup person's going to charge me about $500 to get all the mud and stuff out of the house. That's a little bit annoying. The other annoying thing is they shut off the electricity, the gas, while they're fighting the fire, which I completely understand, right? You don't want to have anything that could be feeding it. On site, Tucson Electric Power was able to determine that there was no damage to anything electrical, anything, so no problem, and they restored power on site a week ago. The gas company, however, once the gas is shut off, they will not turn it back on without having somebody there, because you got a pilot light, whatever. I completely understand that as well. I got home yesterday. I called the gas company. I said, hey, can we do this? Oh, yeah, we'll send a guy out. The guy came out to my house, looked everything over, and went, yeah, this isn't up to code. I said, it was yesterday or last week. Right. But apparently the rule is if the service is disrupted for any reason, they will not restore service until it's up to code. So now I have to run the gas lines, and it's going to be a major pain not being in town. So.
Yikes. Well,
fortunately, it's not February. So, while it might not be the hot shower that we all know and love, it at least isn't a frozen one. If it was, I'd be in a hotel right now. But so right now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to have to do to get the gas turned back on.
There you go. Well, good job. Good update. We still got to talk Pro Mod. Mark Stockseth, our WFO Patreon out there who helps out a lot of racers. Bruno gave him a shout out on the Pro Stock deal. Obviously, he says, working on getting Matt in a Pro Stock car. It will happen, says Mark Stockseth. And I think that's as good as a guarantee as there exists out there in the drag racing world. I would love to see that, Matt, to be able to go do that. But hey, listen, Matt Smith.
Where would Matt find a competitive Pro Stock car?
Yeah, I don't know, though. Is there one available that people are just kind of like passing it around?
Whose team out there that has a 4-time champion driver has Mark Stockseth's name on it already?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a guess. Matt probably won't be in a KD car.
Right. Who does the honing, that kind of stuff. The question is not if, Mark Stockseth. How about give us the real story on WFO, guys, and give us a when before it actually happens.
You don't know the story? I know the story.
When?
And I haven't spoken to Matt, and I haven't spoken to Mark.
Okay.
And I can't tell you the exact race. I can't tell you the exact race that it's going to happen.
Yes.
Elite has a car that is almost like a rental car, right?
Yes.
Who's going to drive it this week? Who's going to drive it that week? Bruno drove it this week, got his first round win in Pro Stock. My guess would be, or I'm relatively certain about this, having no inside information, that the first time that car's available and we are not running Pro Stock motorcycle at that event, that Matt will drive that car. I believe he's already licensed. I know he's got a Pro Mod license. I believe he's already got a Pro Stock license also.
So we got to cross-reference the schedules. We got to get in it. All the virtual producers do that. Hey, Ralph wants to know if you're going to be at Woodburn this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he says yes. He says
yeah.
All right, let's
I've actually got to go to Indy next week for a couple of days, and I'm flying directly to. Actually, one of the most annoying things, I'm grateful to be busy, but Chris Barnes offered me an opportunity to drive his B automatic, the green 70 Camaro, big block car, the wheel stand of the Paul and Z car out on this side of the world. He was going to let me come out and run the thing in testing at Woodburn just to make a couple of laps, do a couple of wheelies in it, and I won't be there. I don't get into Woodburn until almost midnight.
Isn't that the kind of thing that you change your schedule no matter what it is for? Isn't that there's certain opportunities that you blow everything else off for that?
Alan wants to have fun driving a car.
Yeah.
Lucas Oil Map TV wants to pay Alan to do a TV show.
Oh, yeah. Okay. If it's that. No, I got you. No, listen, that makes a lot of sense, Alan. All right, let's get Pro Mod ins before we're one of the most dominant performances of the weekend. Jose Gonzalez, brand new car. Yeah, this thing, let's see how it goes. It goes great. Straight down the track, no wasted movement. Like watching that thing leave off the starting line was a thing of beauty, and goes out there and just dominates. Jose crushed him.
Yeah. While I was on my way out, headed back to the airport on Sunday night, he was coming into the winner's circle to get his picture taken, and I drove by, I rolled down the window, and I said, "Nobody likes a show off." And he just smiled. And but he's got a really good car right now, and the brand new one. Obviously, I'm assuming they went someplace and made a couple of shakedown runs, because the way it was running, if they did that literally like right off the jig and out of the paint shop, that's even more impressive, because that means he'll find even more later. But no, running good, and I mean tremendous recovery. Right, when you wreck at one race, and you have to not just fix, but build a brand new car and then come back out and have a dominating performance like that. They deserve every bit of it. The car was fast. He did a good job driving it. They just didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, and that brings in the rules. Mark says they need to throw 100 pounds on the Pro Charger cars, and some other people are asking, as Mark again, why wasn't Ricky there? And there it is. I want to see the nitrous cars get a little help, but Jeff Parker, he was fast.
Yeah, I reached out to Ricky and asked him, point blank, where you at? I told him we miss you. And he said that he has the second car that he rents out, which is a big part of the funding that keeps him going down the road. He said he didn't have anybody to rent the car out there. And so he looked at the thing and said, it just doesn't make financial sense. He said it'll probably be an Indy. Doesn't know other, but you got to remember that there's so many of these Pro Mod guys that the Pro Mod car is literally their hobby. I mean, it's an expensive hobby, and they run it as a professional operation as anybody could, but that's not where they make their money. And for Ricky, driving the Pro Mod, racing the car, is where he makes his money. And so if he looks at a situation and it just doesn't make financial sense, then it doesn't make financial sense. And I respect that. But I told him, I said, it's just not the same when you're not here. And he texted back. He said, yeah, there's no drama when I'm not there, right? Well, that's part of it.
Well, it is part of it, and we'd love to see Ricky there and want him to be back. I just want nitrous cars out there as often as is possible. Jeff Barker was the guy. this weekend. And he was quick. Don't get me wrong. He was quick. All right, let's get the final remaining winners in there. Like, for instance, Chuck Watson and Factory Showdown, Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown, a battle of Cobra Jets. The Cobra Jets were back in force for the first time. You know, there was smattering prior to this race. This race, they were all there, a lot of them, and they ran well. David Barton was super fast in his Camaro, though. I don't know if we can say one way or another. Does anyone have a decided advantage? It's close. Maybe they do, the ones that ran in the final. But for me, it doesn't matter. Chuck Watson, the second, got to go to the winner's circle at maybe the most recent national event that his dad had also won, Norwalk, I think 4 years ago. His dad had just passed away. And so that is, that's just another one of those super emotional, great stories that come around in drag racing.
Yeah, I think, you know, he obviously wanted that one. And you talk about all the Cobra Jets being there. The reason for that, you mentioned right at the top of the show. You know, when you are on one of the teams, I don't know if factory team is the right word, but when you're driving for a corporation like Ford and you know Edsel Ford is on the property, that's not the time to go sit home.
Right.
And you know, all the Ford guys wanted to come out and show that, hey, look, your investment in this program, right? This is what we're doing with it. We're showing it off. We're doing this. We're making good runs. We're beating the other manufacturers, which is very important. And you know, it's certainly not my area of expertise by any means, but I would be stunned if the tech department isn't already looking at, okay, what's the Dodges, right? I mean, the Mopars, their new combination, you know, obviously the car is a little bit bigger physically. Is there an adjustment that needs to be made there, because they really weren't competitive. Joe Welsh, you know, did get into the field, but it really looks like, you know, if you just take the fastest Chevy and the fastest Ford, they look like they're pretty close. If you now try to factor in the fastest Mopar, it really looks like, you know, maybe it's time for an adjustment. That's just my opinion.
Well, I don't disagree. I just want them to get them competitive as they possibly can. Other winners, Matt Cummings, first national event win for the McPhillips family. Great job, Matt. He's from Pompano Beach, Florida. And the fact that he got a win. DJ Cox getting a win in Top Alcohol Funny Car. I said it wrong all weekend. Dixie Construction is no longer Dixie. It's DXI Construction. It's got to say that right from now on. Bruno winning in Comp Eliminator. Very exciting. Had Daryl Heron on the property helping out with some things. And Daryl is an ace, and they went out and won the race. Bertazzi, as you mentioned, won in Super Stock, owns the Stock Eliminator winning car owned by Joe Santangelo, owns the Super Comp car driven by John Labuse. Excuse me if I said Joe was owning instead of driving. He was driving. Jeremy Mason won in Super Gas. Kurt Frederick, top sportsman. Al Kenny, top dragster. And Mark Pappas and Al Lynch in the Gassers and Nostalgia Pro Stock. And that's it for the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals, the most wide open of all the races so far this year. A lot going on.
Yeah, DJ actually sent me a note yesterday, and he said, go figure. He said, how many times have we made a great run in the final and got beat by inches? And we go out there and blow the tires off. And fortunate for him, Bob McCosh went red. You know, he just got away with it in the final round. But, you know, we've been talking forever. You know, Bob McCosh right now looks like he is the best alcohol funny car to yet win a national event. Had a great opportunity there, and I think just got over adrenaline in the final round is the only thing I can think of. But he still got himself a great car. The Brian Haug thing was a little worrisome. Actually broke a rear wheel launching off the starting line. And fortunately, it happened launching off the starting line. You know, he lost the round, but damage to the car was minimal if there was any. You know, that happens when the parachute came out. It could have been a whole lot worse. So glad that that wasn't an issue. And you know, Sean Bellemere told me earlier in the weekend that he said Doug Gordon had this vacation plan, so he's down in Cabo or someplace sitting on the beach with a umbrella drink in one hand, his phone in the other, and he's rooting for me this weekend. Sure he is.
Yeah.
You just keep telling yourself that he's rooting for you. But I think those two are going to, they're certainly going to be two of these. There may be some other players involved in the championship fight again this year. Good. It's fun.
It is absolutely fun. Alan, great job as usual. Any final thoughts as we move on beyond Norwalk and start looking towards Bandamere?
No, just, if you are in the Ohio area, remember, they've got a huge regional event coming up at Norwalk this weekend. Still got ice cream, still got fireworks. You know, you're not going to see Top Fuel and you're not going to see Pro Stock, but you're going to see Alcohol Dragster, Alcohol Funny Car. And, there was a pile of them on the property last week. I don't think that they were all planning to pack up and go home. I think you're going to see a whale of a race up there at America's Racetrack. And I just want to say thanks to Bill and thanks to all of his staff. They always make us feel very welcome, make us feel like family when we come up there. Didn't get to really chat with Bill very much this week. He came up in the tower a couple of times, but he was running around trying to make sure that everything was taken care of, especially with the rain issues and things we had. But Bill, it's always a pleasure coming to your place. So if you're in the neighborhood, hopefully the weather will be good to him this weekend. Go out there and pack the place and support your local racetrack. And then if you're in the Woodburn area, I will see you there next week.
There you go. And while we're thanking Bill, I want to thank Mr. Bader as well. Thank you so much. And Alan, you might not know this, but he was kind enough to give me his personal cell phone number. So I was
only you, huh?
Oh, I feel like he reached out to me and he gave me his personal cell phone number, which I promptly put into my phone in case we ever need him on WFO. Thank you, Bill.
For those of you that don't know, when he came up in the tower and was talking about the exit strategy, one of the exit lanes that they'd always used at Norwalk was no longer available to him, simply because the property owner had shut it down for whatever reason. I don't know, but he wanted to make sure that his fans understood that, hey, this is the situation. This is going to be the quick way to get out. And said on the PA, if anybody has a problem, anybody has a question, before you go on social media, before you go on Facebook, before you go tell everybody about it, let me know and let me see if I can fix it. And he announced his cell phone number to everybody that was in the stadium and at NHRA.TV. But he also, I don't know how many people know this, there are a couple of plaques around the stadium that have his personal cell phone number. I mean, he really believes anybody that comes to that place, you're not a customer, you're a guest. And if one of his guests is having an issue, he wants to know about it. So, as I said at the time when he made that announcement, I said, you guys live in a pretty good sports place, right? I mean, you got a lot of professional teams. You got to tell me one other stadium owner that ever said, here's my personal cell phone number. If you're unhappy, call me and let me see if I can fix it.
Well, I am going to call him though and tell him. I'm going to call him and tell him that he needs to connect with the restaurants in the area and tell them they need to stay open later than 9:30, because that is the only complaint I have about anything that goes on in the Norwalk, Ohio area, is that every kitchen in that area closes at 9:30 in a tourist destination. What are they thinking? They need to go to Orlando and understand you need to stay open at least until midnight on a weekend in a tourist destination. What is this 9:30 stuff? But I also know that Bill does not control them and there's nothing he can do. Alan, great job. Thank you so much. Good times. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm off to the house to meet a contractor and see what it's going to take to get my gas turned back on.
There it is. Fire it up. Thank you, Alan. Good luck. There he goes. Alan Reinhart with us here on WFO Radio. All right. Final comments, your thoughts on the race, any result, all that into the comments section now. I will tell you, we have got Erica Enders tomorrow. So be sure to subscribe and click the bell if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on Twitter, or like our Facebook page, or join our Facebook group. The Facebook group is actually growing considerably. The only thing I don't like about the Facebook group is you can't really share the show as easily because you have to be a member of the group to understand. Now, maybe that makes more people want to join the group. I don't know, but we've got some good people in that group, by the way, and I really appreciate it. Like some celebs and VIPs, like Tim Fabrizi joined our WFO group. And I was like, hey man, do you mind if I call you out by name? And he's like, no, dude, I want to be in the group. That's cool. And so it's kind of cool that we're starting to get some celebs and racers in there to give us actual genuine insight into our WFO group. And I do very little. I got to say, a lot of people do a good job in there. Like Jeff is one of the people who's posting a lot of things. I think Tom's in the group as well. Good stuff. But final comments into the comment section, and then I will read them as we get ready to get up on out of here. What a show it has been. What a show it has been. Big thanks to Total Seal Piston Rings. Matt Hartford had a good run going, just ran into GA again. Greg Anderson is very tough. Total Seal Piston Rings. Hidden Horsepower, the podcast. Doing all kinds of stuff at the end of the year, the Engine Performance Expo, right before the Bristol race. Going to be at PRI, totalseal.com. Hit the website. You can get all the podcasts there. But if you're building an engine, and this is all I can say, like, what did both of the finalists in Pro Stock have in common? What did they both have in common? Total Seal. That should answer every question. If you're a stock eliminator racer and, you can't gas port pistons and all that stuff, they've got a solution for you. Go to totalseal.com. Also, my buddy, Marvin Rodak, rodakscoffeeandgrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs, and everything good, grilling tools, tips, information. Down there in Fort Worth, Texas, if you're a Texan and you're down there, you should swing by Rodak's, get some coffee, roasted fresh per your order. If you're anywhere around the country, order it up. It'll show up and you can have the Rodak's experience. 817 924-6821. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Brian Massengill, Linda Judson, Samtech grads all over that place the other day. All over that place. And maybe you're the next generation. You're a relatively young person. You're a veteran who's looking for a career. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Go to samtech.edu, give them a call and ask. They're located in the Houston, Texas area. They've got a great and expanding campus. And people that go there, I talk to, believe me, I talk to them and I say, hey, man, is it worth it? And they say, absolutely. Not just the education, the camaraderie, the people, but the placement with a position with someone outside of your graduation. Go to samtech.edu. And finally, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, frankhawley.com. Drive a dragster, get your license, become a champion. They can help you with all of that. Also, you go to the website, WFOradio.com. We've got the WFO store. You can get face coverings and stickers and T-shirts. The links to everything are on there. I talked to Tamara in the Nitro Fish trailer. She said they went through several 10th anniversary T-shirts, and they had a couple of requests. I guess they are out of the 2X. It was great to see Bo and Randy Lynn on the property as well. I did not get over to the sportsman side of the racetrack, but once or twice. It was that big a deal over the course of the event. If you want some free WFO radio stickers, I will send them to you for free, but you got to do all the work, man. I'm not going to do the work. Castello Media /WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope. You put your own address on an envelope with a bunch of stamps. You stick it in another envelope addressed to me. I open the one, put the stickers in yours, seal it, and send it back. No work. I can't do it otherwise. And there you go. Now, mention we got Erica tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern Time. Cruz Pedregon, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. He's off to L.A. He's going to be doing Rome. He's going to be doing everything. We're going to speak with the cruiser about the whole deal. My thoughts on the weekend. I had a great time. I loved it. It was a great drag race, as is America's racetrack. It's expected. It's just WFO all the way, 100%. The staff is nice. The track is nice. The place is nice, except for the restaurants not leaving their kitchens open beyond 9:30. That is a horrific, nightmarish oversight. And if they are failing, that is the reason. But other than that, getting shut out of the restaurant. Hey, I want to say thanks to the Vance and Hines team for allowing me to circumvent the circumstance. It's like, what's open? Well, the only place that's open is Applebee's. So, of course, and then, go by past Applebee's, there's a Taco Bell. The line of 5,000 cars around Taco Bell. It's like, all right, I'm going to Applebee's. Going to Applebee's. Here we go. Feeling good in the neighborhood. At least the music that they play in the commercials is good. Let's try it. So I go in there and I go to the girl at the hostess. She's like, well, the wait's going to be 30 minutes, sir. And it's like late already. And then I see something. I see something out of the corner of my eye. What's that? Like waving someone. It's someone. Who is it? It's Angel. Angel is waving at someone. Who's she waving at? Oh, she's waving at me. She wants to say hello. That's perfect. So I go walking over there and I give them my sob story about how I can't get in. And I was able to sit there and eat and get in on their waitress. And I was able to actually achieve some food in Norwalk, Ohio. If you are in local government, you need to talk to your restaurants. 9:30 is not acceptable in 2021, folks. You got tourists coming in from around the world. I don't know what you think. People don't eat beyond 9:30, or your employees want to stop making money at 9:30. This has been a Joe rant. I apologize, but it was a little annoying. It's a lot annoying. And I'm not the only one who had this beef. Okay. What is the worst thing about going to Norwalk? The restaurants close at 9:30. It's a no-brainer. Everything else is perfect and amazing. And as much as I did try to survive on ice cream, and I did a pretty good job, I think I had 4 pounds of ice cream. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was my least healthy week in a year, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Loaded up on moose tracks and started making great combinations. What if we take butter pecan and mint chocolate chip and we mix them together? What would that be like? Where else do you get that opportunity to get real creative with your ice cream eating? Nowhere. Nowhere. All right, let's see what you guys got to say. Let's see what everyone's got to say out there. Final comments, right? Scott, good point. I hope Alan gets gas tomorrow. Yeah, or today. Let's see. Try being in a flight crew dealing with no food all the time. What? Because you're getting off at strange and bizarre hours. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Let's see. Top Fuel said, I find it strange how the no prep guys are killing it right now compared to NHRA. What do you think the reason is? Okay. Bang, bang, bang. I can now speak with actual knowledge. Top Fuel 173. False premise. They're not. Back-to-back weekends, baby. I went to No Prep Kings at Palm Beach International Raceway and experienced it firsthand for myself. Walked around, watched, enjoyed. Came back home, had a great time. Total access, all kinds of information. Was there to absorb like a sponge everything that I could possibly learn in a 14-hour day. Got down to 3 cars in my own race car, right? Or GTO. Went to Norwalk. This statement that you just put forward is absolutely incorrect, sir. Not even remotely close. No prep guys are killing it compared to the NHRA. Absolutely not. Now, against their own curve, they are doing a great job. They're doing a great job. It's a great event. It's a whole lot of fun. But what metric are we comparing? Just conjecture. Other than that, like butts in seats, there were 6 times the butts in seats at the NHRA, maybe 10 times. Yeah, I would say 10 times. 10 times the capacity crowd. Palm Beach International Raceway was capacity on Saturday and near capacity on Sunday. That's for Friday and Saturday, excuse me. Call that 6,000 people. Like we could call it 8,000 people, maybe. And that, maybe not. There certainly was not a line of people outside that couldn't get in. There were not a bunch of people driving home because they were turned away. It was, they got everybody that wanted to go, right? Norwalk, I wouldn't say it was a sellout. It wasn't a sellout. There were, weather and all those extra issues. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they were 85% capacity, maybe 90. Not everybody is in their massive seats at the exact same time. Not to mention the racers, all the cars, all the sportsman racers, all everything. So I think it is a total, now I can speak from understanding, total misnomer that no prep guys are killing it right now compared to the NHRA. That is false. Simple as that. Now, you want to talk numbers, you want to add in their ratings of their TV show, then we can talk about some things like how much people are getting paid based on the TV show. We could talk about that. I don't know what our numbers were for this race. I know what their numbers are. Numbers per play. That's a big part of it too. They run those shows all the time, but the difference is one is a sport. One is a sport like the NFL, like the NBA, like Major League Baseball, like NASCAR, like IndyCar, like Formula One. It's a sport, and the sport is televised. The other is a TV show. And that just makes it different. So I don't know. I am not going to endorse that comment. I think now, based on my own firsthand experience, NHRA is doing a great job. In fact, that was my big takeaway going from one to the next. They do a lot of great stuff that can be learned, that can be re-emulated. And I can give you examples if you want. We've been on for almost an hour and 40 minutes now. I don't think people want to see me anymore, but I can give you real examples. I'll do that. I'll do that in a minute after I get through everybody else's stuff. Jeff says, great show. Tom says, great show. Scott says, hopefully Alan gets gas tomorrow. I'm back to where I was. Great show today. Great job this past weekend. And hopefully everybody will be watching tomorrow. Jim Quickle, my buddy, racer from PBIR. Big shout out to them. Capco Boys, says Ken. The best, period, bar none, are era's Tony Schumacher, Alan Johnson combination. What are they capable of? How far will they go? How many races will they win? Only they know. They do it the right way. They got a lot of fun in their pit, and they consistently rise to the occasion and beat whoever's next. But someone will knock them off, and I wonder who that will be. Roger Rich, Bader Barbecue Restaurant at the track, open till midnight during the race. Thank you very much, Roger. It only works if you're staying at the track, though, Roger, I guess. EE tomorrow, Yahoo. Great show. Joe says, Scott, thank you, says Nico. Derek says, did you and Hartford record anything new? No, we did not. We did not have time to do anything extra. the weather, my nature, and the wetness and the rain and the time. It just was go, go, go from start to finish. WFO. We'll get it in Denver. My mom's saying, go Cruise. Yeah, Cruise Thursday. Be here. The Cruiser. Yay, Cruise. Such a good race. It really was. Especially this summer. Can't have Joe hangry. I will get hangry. Back years ago, I used to be the guy get hangry. When they came out with those commercial Snickers about hangry, I thought that's me. I am. I get hangry, man. But now I'm over it. I finally learned to not get hangry. Every once in a while, it'll come out. 4 pounds. Ricky, maybe more, brother. It might have been 5. I was like, I went in and got my first one, and then I'm bored. Let me get another one. Velvet ice cream made right down the road from us. They were great. Way to go, Jim. Ice cream suicide. Oh, yeah. My least healthy week in over a year. Pistachio ice cream rocks. It was not available. I was at MPK, SGMP, South Georgia Motorsports. Hot as Hades. Was it? South Georgia Motorsports Park. Great little racetrack. No Prep Kings. It was at National Trail was packed. Everybody told me the one at National Trail was the most people that they had. And yeah, that's a great stat. But numbers and comparisons and drawing big crowds because they haven't ran in 2 years. Everybody's been waiting like me. Well, exactly. But why must we make this comparison? The only thing I'm saying is that the idea that they're killing it in the compared to the NHRA is false. That's all I'm saying. They're killing it. They're doing a great job. But I got to say, this weekend event was massive. What more could have happened to make it a better event at the NHRA? Like, what do you want? You want so big a crowd that it's uncomfortable for people to walk in the pits. We were there. We were at that point. So what do you want? You want so many more people that the fire marshal comes and closes it down. Like, that would be a great story for the NHRA. Like, the fire marshal shows up. You want it to be so big a crowd that you have to wait an hour and 40 minutes to get 2 lemonades for your punky kid. Because that did happen at one of the 2 events, and it wasn't the NHRA. NHRA is at its has been and will be. Woo! I don't know. It just felt like a Ric Flair woo needed to come after that. Speaking of rivalries, I remember the 1990s, the beer wars, where in Top Fuel, when Bud and Miller raced, even in qualifying, they wanted to win. Yeah, Lonnie, I agree. I would love a beer war. Alexis has got beer on her car somewhere. Yikes, 5. What are you judging me? You guys ice cream judge shaming? Back down, man. When you're there and you have access, you're going to do it. I challenge you, especially with all the free time the rain made. Like, what are you going to do? You're sitting over there and there's ice cream right there and you're not going to eat it? I don't believe you. Not one bit. It's hard to beat the Nitro Ninja Metal God, says Joey Rocket. Yeah, Joey, I agree. Those Nitro Ninja Metal Gods. Dom Lagana was out there. Me, Dom, and Bobby, we were solving the world's problems a little bit. We have all agreed that we want to fire Aaron Boone. That's where we're at right now. That's where our heads are at. And Dominic, as positive a guy as he is, we were even thinking like, yeah, it's not working really good. We got swept by the Red Sox again. It's not really good. What's happening in Yankee land? And we have not a lot of time. Don't mix mint chocolate chip with anything. Well, no, that's a mistake because you could get 4 scoops in 1 pound container, or you could get 4 1-pound containers. So I just got a potpourri of various ice creams. I made my own like Neapolitan style, just with everything that they had. And Betsy, who did a great job with serving the ice cream, handled everything, including filling the ice cream for the ice cream eating contest, which you guys should all watch and retweet. Big thanks to Justin Ashley and Angie Smith, the winner, Jim Campbell, who played it so cool, man. The guy's got something funny to say at every point. Derek Kramer, who was the unfortunate victim of Angie's gamesmanship. Poor Derek. I go to interview him. He looks at me. She puts her ice cream in his container. And I didn't notice until after it was over. But, I felt like the 2 rules are, competition and comedy. The comedy part, check. Way to go, Angie. Let's see. Here's Blake. Next time I see you, I'll have my WFO shirt on so you can sign it. Okay, it's black, though. I'll need a silver Sharpie. Good hanging with you, Blake. You and your dad. You and your pop. Mint chocolate chip all the way. It's okay. It's no Moose Tracks. Moose Tracks is light years better than anything else. Yes, fire him. Fire him, Aaron Boone. You will be fired. Listen, I don't like to call for anybody's job, but we need to have some success going on here, Yankee fans. And for those that don't know, Secret Yankee Talk can break out at any time here on WFO Radio. We are diehard Yankee fans, and we are the toughest on the team of anybody. It's not working. It's not working right now. It's not working. No wait in line like the normal guys. That's not true, Ricky. How dare you suggest such a thing that I would game the system that way? Really? You know, I am a working member of the media, just because I moonlight a little from WFO radio and take another gig with the National Hot Rod Association doesn't mean I'm not entitled to all the benefits of the media. Great job all weekend, both of you. So happy for Cruz. I'm happy for Cruz too. I'm happy for Cruz. I want to see Alexis get a win, and I want to see players, man. I want to see players and stories. This sport is one of the greatest sports in the world. It's just, we got a couple of problems. We got a bunch of fans that are like these old school guys that just don't want to get with today's program and just would much rather talk about the good old days and how, they don't like now. You got that, right? We've got some issues that we're working through, and we're going to work through them. Moose Tracks, yeah. Moose Tracks, everybody agrees. Oh, the New York sadness. Yeah, crying towel, man. New York Yankee crying towel. It can happen at any time. It's all right. Whenever I get sad and get a little blue, I think about 27 World Series championships, and it perks me back up again. Because all of a sudden I realize, that we're associated and connected with greatness. We'll get it right eventually. My mom was at the track on Friday and Saturday. She said she couldn't get tickets next to us, and that's why she wasn't there on Sunday. She got to watch on television and look for you, Blake. That's what matters. Pro stock is getting good. Pro stock has been good, but it's getting better. I hated for any of the Final Four and Funny Car to lose. Yeah, even Bobby Motorcraft. That win was big for Tasca, and from what I understand, he was gutted. And that's what you want. You want it to matter, and it matters. It matters so big. Remember, we're in a new world, guys. We're in a new world. Post-pandemic world is a different world than pre-pandemic world. It is. It's just different. But the opportunities and everything matters so much. This guy had to, Corey had to poop in the last minute. Sorry, Corey. Pop. Oh, I misread that. Sorry. Corey Savoy out there, bud. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. Remember, tomorrow, Erica Enders. Erica Enders is going to be on the show. We're going to speak with E. We're going to talk with E about what went down and how she did it and how she brought up that 005 against Greg when she needed it to avoid being a footnote in history in the Greg Anderson legacy. And Greg Anderson beat Erica Enders to tie Warren Johnson. She's like, oh, no, this is not happening. And she went out there and got it done. Awesome. Awesome stuff. And then Cruiser on Thursday. Remember, the archive is loaded. We got this guy, John Force, in there. I know you didn't all see the Force interview, so go watch that. And that's going to do it. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio. Thanks, guys.